The morning sun was barely up over New York City, yet the studios of NBC were already buzzing. It was the day Carrie Underwood, America's beloved country superstar, was set to appear on Today with Jenna and Friends. Fans had gathered outside Rockefeller Plaza, clutching posters, hoping for a glimpse of the 7-time Grammy winner. Inside the studio, tension was strangely thick. Jenna Bush Hager, the ever-smiling host, was sipping her coffee while the production team hurriedly made last-minute adjustments. Carrie's team had already arrived, setting up her chair, testing the audio, and making sure her preferred tea was ready. Everything looked perfect on the surface, but under that polished exterior, cracks were forming. Carrie walked in, radiant as always, dressed in a sparkling emerald dress that shimmered under the studio lights. Her presence alone made heads turn. She had that rare ability to make people feel both intimidated and comforted. Smiling politely, she shook hands with the staff but kept her words short. "Carrie, thank you for coming," Jenna greeted her warmly as the cameras were being prepped. "Of course," Carrie replied with a calm nod. "Happy to be here." Yet, her eyes told a different story. There was a guardedness, a sense that she was bracing herself. The first signs of trouble. The segment began smoothly enough. Jenna introduced Carrie with enthusiasm, highlighting her career milestones: American Idol victory, multi-platinum albums, her Las Vegas residency. The audience clapped, clearly thrilled. But then Jenna shifted gears. Instead of focusing on Carrie's music and projects, she brought up recent tabloid headlines that Carrie had worked hard to avoid. "So, Carrie," Jenna began, her smile unwavering, "there's been a lot of talk lately about the pressure of fame and how it's affected your personal life. Some say you've become distant. What do you say to that?" Carrie blinked, caught off guard. Her lips curved into a polite smile, but her fingers tightened around her teacup. "Well, Jenna," she replied, steady but firm, "I think people love to make assumptions. My focus has always been on my family and my music. That's what matters to me." The audience gave a supportive round of applause, but Jenna wasn't finished. She leaned in, her tone shifting ever so slightly sharper. "But don't you think fans deserve to know when an artist might be struggling? After all, they're the ones supporting your career." Carrie's jaw tensed. It was subtle, but noticeable to those paying attention. "Fans deserve honesty, absolutely," Carrie said carefully. "But they also deserve boundaries. Not everything needs to be public." Sparks ignite. The conversation could have ended there. But Jenna, perhaps encouraged by producers in her earpiece, pushed again. "There was also that viral clip from your concert in Dallas," Jenna continued. "You walked off stage after what some people called a meltdown. Would you say that was just exhaustion, or something deeper?" The room fell silent. Carrie's eyes narrowed, though she kept her smile. "I think," Carrie said, her voice cool but sharp, "that what happens in the heat of a live performance is between me and my fans who were there. Not for gossip." The applause this time was hesitant. Some audience members exchanged looks, sensing the tension building. Jenna's co-host shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to intervene. Carrie shifted in her seat. Her patience was clearly thinning. The breaking point. Then came the final straw. Jenna asked, "Some critics argue that you've lost touch with your country roots, that your newer music feels too polished, too pop. Do you think you're abandoning the very fans who made you famous?" Carrie's face froze. For years, she had faced this critique, and she had always handled it gracefully. But today, something snapped. She set her cup down firmly on the table. "I've given my heart and soul to every song I've ever recorded," she said, her voice rising. "I've never abandoned my fans. If people want to put me in a box, that's their problem, not mine." The audience gasped. This was not the composed, soft-spoken Carrie Underwood they were used to seeing. Jenna, visibly taken aback, tried to soften the moment. "Carrie, I didn't mean." But Carrie was already standing. "No, Jenna, I don't think this conversation is fair. I came here to talk about my music, my tour, my new projects. Not to be dissected like a headline." Gasps echoed across the studio. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second. Carrie shook her head, glanced toward the audience, half apologetic, half defiant, and then stormed off the set. The sound of her heels clicking against the studio floor lingered long after she disappeared behind the curtain. Chaos in the studio. For a moment, the studio was frozen in shock. Jenna sat frozen, mouth slightly open, before recovering with a forced laugh. "Well, that was unexpected," she said, trying to maintain composure. The audience laughed nervously, unsure of how to react. The producers cut to a commercial break, the Today theme music playing awkwardly. Behind the scenes, staff members rushed after Carrie, but she refused to return. Backstage, Carrie's team gathered around her as she paced the hallway. "This is exactly why I hate these interviews," she snapped, her voice trembling with anger. "It's never about the music anymore. Always about drama." Her manager tried to calm her down. "Carrie, people will understand. You stood your ground. Don't worry, we'll handle the fallout." But Carrie knew the damage was done. The clip was already making its way to social media. Within minutes, hashtags like #CarrieStormsOff and #CarrieVsJenna began trending on Twitter. Carrie closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and muttered, "Let them talk. I know who I am." By the time Carrie left the building, the internet was already ablaze. Clips of her walking off set spread like wildfire. Some fans defended her fiercely. Greater than, Carrie did the right thing. She's a human being, not a punching bag. Others, however, criticized her reaction. Greater than, walking off was unprofessional. She should have finished the interview. On TikTok, edits of the confrontation circulated with dramatic background music. On Twitter, memes appeared within minutes, comparing the moment to other infamous celebrity walkouts. The incident had become more than a morning show mishap, it was a national conversation. Jenna's dilemma. Meanwhile, back in the studio, Jenna sat in her dressing room, replaying the scene in her mind. She wasn't a stranger to awkward interviews, but this one felt different. Carrie wasn't just another guest, she was a beloved American icon. Jenna sighed, scrolling through her phone. The comments weren't kind. Many accused her of being too invasive, of pushing boundaries for ratings. "Maybe I went too far," she admitted quietly to her producer. "I just wanted her to open up, to be real. I didn't mean to push her away." The producer rubbed his temples. "It's messy, Jenna. But controversy means attention. This could boost ratings." Jenna frowned. For her, it wasn't just about numbers. It was about trust, and she feared she had just lost Carrie's. Carrie breaks her silence. That evening, Carrie finally addressed the incident on Instagram. Sitting in her Nashville home, wearing a simple hoodie and no makeup, she recorded a heartfelt video message. "Hi everyone," she began softly. "I know a lot of you saw what happened today on Today with Jenna and Friends. I just want to be honest. Interviews can be hard sometimes. When questions cross into personal territory, it's tough. I'm not perfect, I get emotional, I get frustrated. But please know this, I will always give my best to my fans. My music is who I am, and that's where I want the focus to be." The video quickly gained millions of views. Her humility and rawness won many back to her side. Fans flooded the comments with support. "Greater than, we love you, Carrie. You don't owe anyone your private life. Queen. Don't ever apologize for standing up for yourself." Jenna responds. The next day on her show, Jenna addressed the issue head-on. Looking directly into the camera, she spoke with sincerity. "Yesterday, things got heated with Carrie Underwood. I want to say I admire her deeply, and if I crossed a line with my questions, I truly apologize. My job is to ask, but my goal is never to make someone feel uncomfortable. Carrie, if you're watching, I hope we can talk again in the future, on better terms." The audience applauded. It wasn't scripted, it felt genuine. Fans take sides. For days, debates continued online. Some argued Carrie was too sensitive, while others said Jenna had been disrespectful. Talk shows replayed the footage, commentators analyzed body language, and bloggers speculated about behind-the-scenes drama. But one thing was clear, both women were trending, and the confrontation had become a cultural moment. A private call. Behind the scenes, Carrie and Jenna eventually spoke on the phone. Their conversation was private, but insiders close to both confirmed it was emotional. They cleared the air, one source said. Carrie explained how hurt she felt, Jenna explained her intentions, and they both agreed to move forward with respect. Though they didn't release a joint statement, fans sensed a quiet truce had been reached. The redemption moment. A month later, during Carrie's sold-out Nashville concert, she paused midway through her set. The crowd roared as she picked up her acoustic guitar, her voice carrying with raw emotion. "You all know me," she told the audience. "I've had some tough moments lately, but this right here, being with you, sharing these songs, that's what matters most." The arena erupted with cheers. Carrie then performed a stripped-down version of Jesus, Take the Wheel, her first breakout hit. Many in the crowd were in tears. Clips from the performance went viral, labeled as Carrie's comeback moment. For many, it was proof that she had risen above the controversy. Lessons learned. In the end, both women grew from the experience. Carrie learned the power of vulnerability in the digital age, how a moment of frustration could redefine her public image, but also how honesty could heal it. Jenna, on the other hand, learned the importance of balancing curiosity with compassion in her interviews. The confrontation was never forgotten, but over time, it became less a scandal and more a story of resilience, of two women navigating fame, scrutiny, and the weight of expectations in front of millions. Epilogue. Months later, Carrie returned to Today with Jenna and friends. This time, the atmosphere was lighter. The questions were kinder, the laughter genuine. Carrie even joked, "At least this time, I'm not walking out." The audience laughed, Jenna smiled, and Carrie strummed a guitar live on air, closing the show with music instead of drama. What began as a storm ended as a story of reconciliation, one that fans would talk about for years.